Here we go, followed by a famous Pennies from Paradise. Penny is a gift from God. Yes, she is. Thank you for returning to our channel. One of the biggest names in rock and pop music, Rod Stewart, has an estimated net worth of $300 million, which is commensurate with his remarkable career that has seen him sell over 250 million records worldwide. However, the intricacies and scandals in his personal life are proportionate to his fame and fortune. Rod Stewart's journey has been filled with highs and lows. In addition to the demands of his profession and notoriety, he has had to deal with complicated personal matters, such as turbulent romantic relationships and serious health challenges like the operation he had for thyroid cancer in 2000. The careful balance between glory and challenges is reflected in every stage of his life. In addition to being a musical legend with hits like Maggie May and I Think I'm Sexy, Rod Stewart is a living example of tenacity and fortitude. He has consistently bounced back from personal controversies and medical procedures, carried on producing, and solidified his place in the international music industry. Rod Stewart is a legendary figure who is both brilliant on stage and complicated in his personal life as a result of his achievements and struggles. Health problems. The world was shocked to learn in May 2000 that Rod Stewart, the iconic British rock star, had been diagnosed with thyroid cancer. His devoted fan base was severely impacted by this news, which sent shockwaves across the music industry. Stewart, well known for his unique, raspy voice and exuberant stage persona, unexpectedly encountered a severe health issue that endangered both his life and his storied singing career. When the singer's illness was still in its early and curable stages, a tumor scan revealed it to him. At the moment of diagnosis, Stewart's spirit and the medical staff were both deeply concerned about the procedure to remove the tumor from his throat. Rod Stewart was lucky not to die because of his faith in the high success rate of the important procedure. After receiving his diagnosis, he moved quickly, having surgery the same month to remove the malignant thyroid. The thyroid gland, which produces hormones that control metabolism, had grown to be a major worry. But the risks were considerably higher because the surgery would damage his vocal cords, which had already been harmed by a benign tumor. Although this treatment was essential for his survival, it nearly destroyed his singing voice, the core of his legacy in music. It was during a regular tumor check that Stewart's cancer was accidentally found. He was fortunate to receive treatment in a timely manner due to the early detection, but the road to recovery was still difficult. Rod Stewart was afraid he would never be able to sing again because he would completely lose his voice. However, he overcame the sickness because of his bravery in confronting it. There was a lot of uncertainty and anxiety following the procedure. Relearning to sing was an enormous effort for Stewart, one that was fraught with both physical and emotional obstacles. He put in a lot of effort to restore the strength and quality of his voice through vocal treatment and rigorous rehabilitation. For 9 months, Stewart was unable to sing, and his voice continued to suffer. He accepted his warmer voice tone even if he no longer possessed his characteristic raspy tenor. Rod Stewart's comeback and unrelenting resolve were demonstrated on stage when he sang his hit song, I Don't Want to Talk About It, on September 20th, 2015. Rod Stewart was changed by his fight with thyroid cancer, which increased his empathy and inspired him to work in charity. He developed into a fervent advocate for the City of Hope Foundation, which raises money for cancer research, particularly for pediatric illnesses. Stewart urged everyone to get regular health checks for early disease diagnosis, feeling fortunate that his cancer was discovered early during a random tumor check. In order to help others suffering from illnesses, he also sold a lot of memorabilia. His life and career were drastically altered by the diagnosis, treatment, and recuperation process, which demonstrated his tenacity and commitment to both the fight against cancer and music. In order to put their family and well-being first, Stewart's kids grew more worried about his health and asked him to cut back on his traveling schedule. As a grandfather to his third grandson, they anticipated he would have a quiet retirement and spend more time with his family. Nearly 20 years after his battle with thyroid cancer, Stewart announced in 2019 that he had defeated prostate cancer after a 3-year struggle. Other health issues? He was nonetheless put to the test by things like soccer injuries that required knee and ankle surgery. Stewart continued to be devoted to music and his followers in spite of this, giving performances in June throughout the UK and Ireland. He indicated that he was ready to slow down and pursue new musical endeavors by implying that his July rock and roll shows in Edinburgh would be his last. Complicated personal life. The diversity and vibrancy of Rod Stewart's personal life mirror those of his musical career. Stewart, who has navigated the difficulties of mixed family dynamics and public scrutiny, has fathered 8 children with 5 different women after going through 3 marriages and other romances. He revealed in a candid interview with Rolling Stone that these encounters have made him a more understanding and patient spouse. He stressed the value of having open discussions and not going to bed angry, 2 habits he upholds in his present marriage to Penny Lancaster, whom he wed in 2007. In order to maintain the flame in their close bond, Stewart, who calls himself an incurable romantic, loves to have private candlelit meals with Lancaster after their kids are asleep. In 1979, at the age of 34, Rod Stewart married Alana Hamilton for the first time, a union that lasted until 1984. The artist, who is now almost 80 years old, revealed in a recent interview that his father had told him he was too young to get married at that time. Stewart acknowledged his father's correctness. Even though Stewart believed he was ready at the time, reality showed otherwise, he told People magazine. Stewart's party lifestyle produced stress and strife in the family, which contributed to the marriage's partial breakdown. Together, they gave birth to Sean Stewart and Kimberly Stewart. Stewart had a long-term relationship with model Kelly M. Berg following his divorce from Alana, and the two had a daughter named Ruby Stewart. Despite never being married, they had a difficult relationship that terminated after 7 years. In 1990, when he was 45 and she was only 21, Stewart married supermodel Rachel Hunter for the second time. They were married for 9 years before divorcing. When I married Rachel, Rod told a journalist that I genuinely believed she was the one, but I was mistaken. They had 2 kids, Renee and Liam Stewart, despite their stark age difference. There were many highs and lows in their marriage as well, and finally came to an end following over 10 years apart. Stewart is currently contentedly wed to Penny Lancaster, his 3rd wife, whom he wed in 2007. Alastair Stewart and Aidan Stewart are their 2 sons. Stewart had a long-term relationship with model Kelly M. Berg following his divorce from Alana, and the two had a daughter named Ruby Stewart. Despite never being married, they had a difficult relationship that terminated after 7 years. In 1990, when he was 45 and she was only 21, Stewart married supermodel Rachel Hunter for the second time. They were married for 9 years before divorcing. When I married Rachel, I genuinely believed she was the one, but I was mistaken, Rod admitted to a publication at the time. They had 2 kids, Renee and Liam Stewart, despite their stark age difference. After over 10 years of separation, this marriage finally terminated after many ups and downs. Stewart is currently contentedly wed to Penny Lancaster, his 3rd wife, whom he wed in 2007. Alastair Stewart and Aidan Stewart are their 2 sons. Sean has also experienced a number of legal issues. His arrest for beating a man outside a party in Los Angeles in 2007 is one noteworthy instance. After being charged, Sean took part in anger management courses to deal with the problem. In addition, he was sentenced to 90 days in prison in 2002 for assault outside a Malibu restaurant, where actor Dean Cain stepped in and phoned the police. Sean also experienced a notable incident at Miami International Airport, where he was fined for causing a disturbance by climbing onto the baggage carousel. Sean Stewart has made appearances on Sons of Hollywood and Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew, among other reality TV programs. These programs brought attention to his personal problems and shed light on his struggles with addiction and other concerns. Both Sean Stewart and his father, Rod Stewart, were charged in 2019 with assaulting a hotel security guard in Florida. The father and son got into a fight with the security officer on New Year's Eve over who may enter a private event. Rod Stewart punched the guard in the chest as the altercation became out of hand. This episode generated a lot of debate and media attention. Both father and son were charged with assault and were required to appear in court. On the surface, Rod Stewart appears to have abandoned his daughter. Although Rod Stewart's life appears to be ideal, there is a tragic backstory involving his firstborn daughter, Sarah Streeter. Sarah Streeter started crying when she saw a photo of Rod Stewart welcoming his newborn son, Alastair Wallace, with pride. Sarah, born in 1963, appeared to be overshadowed by Alastair, Rod, and Penny Lancaster's 6th child. Rod Stewart had never spoken of Sarah in public and had kept her out of his life. She was 42 and had only met him a few times. "My father purposefully forgets how many children he has," Sarah revealed. "I'm devastated by this. I have a family, too, but I've never been able to reunite with them." She also knew that she would never meet her newborn half-brother. The rock superstar abandoned Sarah just days after she was born. She only discovered who her father was when she turned 18. Since then, she had tried to contact Rod and hoped to build a good relationship. She was devastated when he declared he did not want her in his life. Rod once said, "Anyone who wants to count her among my children can do so, but I don't like it." Rod Stewart first met Sarah's mother, Susanna Baffy, when he was 18 years old. Their love lasted for a year until Susanna was 17 and pregnant. Rod declared he was not ready for a child. When Susanna gave birth, her friend had to drag Rod Stewart to the hospital. He grumbled outside the delivery room, cursing himself. "What have I done?" After that, he never visited his daughter. No one doubted that Sarah Streeter was Rod Stewart's child as she inherited his distinctive hooked nose and eyes. Susanna tried to raise her daughter for 7 months before having to place the child in a hospice. At 4 years old, Sarah was adopted by Evelyn and Gerald Thubron. She recalls the first time she learned her father was Rod Stewart. "I was shocked and couldn't believe it was true. Then I decided to find him. But now I wish I didn't know who my father was." The first meeting between Sarah and the famous singer took place in 1982, arranged by a journalist. Rod showed there with a lawyer and his wife, Alana Hamilton. He declined to give her a hug. After a few subsequent encounters, Sarah came to the realization that she would never be able to establish a relationship with her biological father that would stay. As the offspring of a 100 million pound superstar, Sarah's 6 half-siblings were lucky to live a lavish lifestyle. 3 months prior to her wedding, Sarah had to mail her father her invitation. On her special day, though, she only got a bouquet of flowers, a card that was signed by Penny and Rod, and a 5,000-pound Harrods gift voucher. Sarah kept her phone with her all day, waiting in vain, because Rod Stewart's secretary had assured her he would call her on her wedding day. Rod gave her a gift voucher, but she never used it. In June 2005, Sarah and her father had their most recent discussion. The call was started by her. She was asked about her family life by Rod Stewart, who also invited her to visit her siblings at one of his shows in Blenheim Palace, Oxfordshire, England. But since she lacked a pass, she was not permitted backstage. Rod had already departed when the steward identified the boss's daughter and let her entry. The intricacies and challenges in Rod Stewart's familial relationships are reflected in these tales, which expose the darker side of his personal existence. Even though he has tried to keep up his relationships with his kids, Sarah Streeter will always be scarred by the hurt and absence he gave her. Throughout his career, Rod Stewart has been involved in a number of noteworthy disputes, especially in terms of his choices for music and performances. His disco-influenced musical style began to take shape in 1978 when he released the song, "Do You Think I'm Sexy?" from the album Blondes Have More Fun. In addition to being a huge hit right away, the song generated a lot of controversy. Stewart's abandonment of his rock and folk roots in favor of commercial trends was perceived by many fans and critics, losing the originality and honesty he had shown in his work. Stewart once said, "Do You Think I'm Sexy" was an experiment reflecting the musical trends of the time. In reference to this problem, he stated that instead of limiting himself to a single style, he wished to experiment with other musical genres. Stewart further underlined that the song contributed to his considerable financial success and audience expansion in spite of the issue. Stewart also came under heavy fire for choosing to play in South Africa during the apartheid era, when there was a strict system of racial segregation. Many foreign artists avoided South Africa at the time in protest of the country's apartheid practices. Many fans and human rights organizations reacted negatively to Stewart's choice to play there, claiming that his acts were incompatible with human rights principles and tacitly supported the apartheid government. Stewart clarified that he had no intention of endorsing apartheid in this regard. He preferred to reach all of his admirers, no matter where they resided, with his music. Stewart added that he had made an effort to make his performances inclusive and non-discriminatory. He acknowledged the misunderstandings and resistance this decision generated from the public and human rights organizations, but he also conceded that it might have been incorrect. Prominent disputes. Childhood. Let's go back to a music legend's formative years and explore the intricacies of his marriages, family life, personal relationships, and the conflicts that sparked public outrage. Roderick David Stewart was born in North London on January 10, 1945, the youngest of 5 children born to Elsie Rebecca Gilbert and Robert Joseph Stewart, a talented Scottish builder from Edinburgh, a woman from Upper Holloway, England. In a small house above his father's newsagent store on Archway Road, Rod spent his formative years during World War II. Being the youngest, Rod was loved and safe in a family that was neither rich nor poor, and he always looked back on his early years with great joy. Rod's extracurricular activities suggested a promising future, even though his academic performance was unimpressive and his tenure at Highgate Primary School and William Grimshaw Modern School left no lasting impression. At first, he was enthralled with model railroads, but football was his actual love. He was the best football player in his family and a huge Arsenal supporter. He finally played center back for the Middlesex schoolboys. Rod had a particular place in his heart for music in addition to football. Rod's musical approach was greatly affected by his family, who were huge fans of Al Jolson and frequently sang and played his classics at home. The thrilling performances of Little Richard and Bill Haley and his Comets exposed him to rock and roll. Stewart started practicing his musical abilities at the age of 15 after he acquired his first guitar and joined the Cool Cats, a skiffle group. Stewart initially sought a career in football, attending trials at Brentford FC, despite his early love of music. During the summer of 1960, he had to make a life-changing choice, though, as the club did not call him back. After considering being a professional athlete or a musician, Rod decided on music, jokingly pointing out the allure of being able to perform when intoxicated. The basis for the future music legend was established during these early years. Career ever wonder how Rod Stewart went from being a paperboy to becoming a worldwide music star? He had odd jobs and experimented with music during his early years. From delivering newspapers in the family business to working at Highgate Cemetery and a North Finchley funeral home, Stewart was constantly looking for ways to learn more about the world. In 1961, he started taking music seriously. Despite the fact that the audition ended suddenly, he headed to Denmark Street to try out for record producer Joe Meek. Attracted to the folk music movement, Stewart became engrossed in the sounds of Bob Dylan, Woody Guthrie, and Ewan MacColl. He even briefly lived on a houseboat at Shoreham by Sea, embracing a beatnik lifestyle. He participated in marches and demonstrations as part of his active involvement in the nuclear disarmament movement. Stewart started touring throughout Paris and Barcelona busking with folk singer Wiz Jones at this time, which ultimately resulted in his deportation from Spain in 1963 for vagrancy. Stewart adopted the mod way of life in the middle of the 1960s, and his signature spiky rooster hairdo became his hallmark. Inspired by an Otis Redding performance, he moved away from rock and roll and into soul and rhythm and blues music. Stewart's first professional musical performance occurred in October 1963 when he joined the rhythm and blues ensemble The Dimensions as a part-time vocalist and harmonica player. Internal strife cut short his stint with the band, but it sharpened his harmonica talents and exposed him to London's thriving R&B culture. Stewart did not appear on Millie Small's smash song, My Boy Lollipop, unlike what many people think. Most likely, it was Dimension's Peter Hogman. His subsequent musical career was built on a varied and difficult foundation created by these early experiences. When Rod Stewart joined the Jeff Beck Group in the late 1960s and early 1970s, his career took a dramatic shift. He helped the band produce their impactful records and put his unique voice front and center. When Maggie May was released, his solo career took off, making him a global celebrity. Stewart's reputation as a music legend was cemented by his distinctive fusion of rock, folk, and soul, as well as his raspy voice and captivating live persona. His sustained success in the constantly changing music industry was guaranteed by his ability to reinvent himself throughout the years, experimenting with different genres while retaining his own approach. When Long John Baldry caught Rod Stewart playing the harmonica at Twickenham Station in January 1964, it marked a major turning point in his musical career. After this encounter, Stewart started working as a professional musician by joining Baldry's band for a weekly pay of £35. Stewart, who went by Rod the Mod, gained notoriety in the London music scene for his sense of style and developing musical ability, including his uncredited first recording on Up Above My Head and a spell playing at the Marquee Club. Soon after, Stewart's aspirations led him to sign with Decca Records in August 1964 and start a solo career. His first single, Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, did not chart, despite his refusal to listen to their popular song selections and his insistence on recording Sonny Boy Williamson's tunes. Stewart went independent after a brief argument with Baldry, and in 1965, he and Baldry co-founded Steam Packet, a white soul review. Due to contractual problems, the group never recorded, despite supporting well-known artists like the Rolling Stones. Stewart joined Shotgun Express in 1966 following the dissolution of Steam Packet, but he became more focused on songwriting after becoming dissatisfied with performing non-original music. Even though Stewart had many failures and struggled to develop his own voice, his experiences during this time helped shape his unique musical style and finally catapulted him to fame. When Stewart joined the Jeff Beck Group in the late 1960s and early 1970s, his career took a significant turn, and his unique voice helped the band produce some of their most influential recordings. With the publication of Maggie May, his solo career took off, propelling him to global renown. Stewart's reputation as a music legend was cemented by his distinctive fusion of rock, folk, and soul, as well as his raspy voice and captivating live persona. His success in the ever-changing music industry, solo career, and current projects was guaranteed by his ability to reinvent himself over the decades, experimenting with different genres while retaining his distinctive approach. A major turning point in Rod Stewart's career occurred in February 1967 when he joined the Jeff Beck Group. Together with Ronnie Wood, they surmounted many obstacles and released the albums Truth and Beck Ola, which led to tours in the United States and significant popularity. However, Stewart left in 1969 due to internal conflicts. When Stewart joined Mercury Records in 1968, his solo career really took off. His unique style was established in 1969 with the release of his debut album, An Old Raincoat Won't Ever Let You Down. Stewart later joined Faces and created his own sound, becoming a global celebrity thanks to hits like Never a Dull Moment and Every Picture Tells a Story. Stewart's technique changed, and he returned to the top with the smash song Sailing in 1975 after relocating to Los Angeles and releasing Atlantic Crossing. His stardom was cemented in the ensuing years when he put out a number of hit albums, including A Night on the Town and Footloose and Fancy Free. In 1978, Stewart's disco smash, I Think I'm Sexy from the album Blondes Have More Fun sparked a stir, but also brought him considerable economic success. In the 1980s, Stewart kept developing his sound by adding synth-pop and new wave components to albums like Tonight, I'm Yours and Foolish Behavior. He continued to be a significant commercial force during the decade despite backlash for performing in South Africa during the apartheid era. The famous cover People Prepare for a Quick Reunion with Jeff Beck. With Out of Order, which was produced by Andy Taylor and Bernard Edwards and featured hits like Lost in You and Forever Young, Stewart brought his career back to life in 1988. His reputation was further bolstered by the 1989 Out of Order tour, which attracted thousands of fans. Stewart's success continued in the early 1990s with the release of the album Vagabond Heart and songs like Rhythm of My Heart and the Motown Song. Following his 1994 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Rod Stewart went on to release albums such as Human and When We Were the New Boys. He has kept experimenting and exploring many musical genres in recent years. Stewart returned to creating songs in 2013 with the release of the album Time. Some of his greatest hits were reinterpreted for the 2019 album You're in My Heart, which was produced in partnership with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. In order to uphold his values, Stewart has recently performed at important occasions like the Platinum Party at Buckingham Palace in 2022 and rejected to play in Qatar. He will release Swing Fever, a collaboration with Jules Holland, in early 2024, promising a new musical experience. In addition, Stewart is getting ready for a run of live shows to support his new album, giving fans a chance to hear brand new songs and reminisce about old favorites. Rod Stewart, one of the greatest musicians of all time, continues to captivate new generations of fans with his diverse musical library and net worth approaching $100 million. Millions of fans worldwide have fallen in love with Rod Stewart, a living icon with a unique voice and fascinating stage presence. In addition to being a music classic, his remarkable career spanning multiple decades is evidence of his ongoing flexibility and endurance. From putting out new albums to doing exuberant live performances, Stewart is always creating and exploring new ground even in his 70s. He continues to be very popular and respected by both fans and industry insiders. What aspect of Rod Stewart's career appeals to you the most? Is it his inspirational career path, his spectacular live performances, or his timeless hits? Leave a comment below with your opinions. We appreciate you viewing the video. To ensure you don't miss any fascinating new information about music icons like Rod Stewart, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.